the hockey world lost somebody special this week, and that was Mike Lange, who was the play-by-play man in Pittsburgh for the Penguins on radio and television for a long period of time. Actually worked for the organization for 46 years. Not all of them as a broadcaster. He started in PR. But when you think about the strength of the game of hockey, a lot of it, Darren, and I think you'd appreciate this, a lot of it is at the local level. There wasn't always millions and billions of dollars being spent by networks to carry games. And so there was a lot of emphasis on what the local broadcasters did. And Mike Lange carried the Pittsburgh Penguins through thick and thin. Mike Lange was there for bankruptcies. He was there for Stanley Cup championships. He created a tremendous bond with all of the Penguin fans in Western Pennsylvania. He did a magnificent job of being that conduit. And he retired a few years back, but was always around. You go to a game in Pittsburgh, one of the voices you hear recorded is "It's a hockey night in Pittsburgh," and that's Mike Lange's. And then all his great sayings that over the years people across the country or around the United States and Canada can remember all the things that he talked about, with Elvis leaving the building and
beat him like a rented mule.
Hurry up, mama! The bingo game starting. That all these things that were so colloquial worked for Mike and worked for the fans in that area of the United States. So it's a sad day that Mike Lange passed away. He died at 76, but his imprint on the game will last forever in Pittsburgh because he did such a marvelous job for so many people.
In a time where everybody's looking for that one way to stand out, whether you've got a shtick or some kind of hook, Mike Lange did it easier than a lot of people in a very traditional sport. What made him able to walk that balancing act?
I think a lot of it had to do with where he was. And when I say that, it was Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was famous for eccentric announcers. Bob Prince with the Pirates, Myron Cope with the Steelers. There was something about that relationship, and Mike was able to build that relationship with the hockey fans. And the other word that gets tremendously overused in every aspect of life these days is he could do it because he made it organic. It wasn't forced. It just happened, and he knew when to use those sayings. And the reason he did that was he knew the game so well. If you stripped off all of those little sayings, Mike's play-by-play was very good. Mike's play-by-play puts you right there in the first row. He did a magnificent job. And I certainly hope that over the next day or two, and I know that the Regional Sports Network in Pittsburgh has done a tribute for him most of this Friday. I certainly hope, and I expect tomorrow the Penguins will do something special for him when they play the Caps. But there was a point in time in Pittsburgh that if you weren't talking about the Penguins, or if you were talking rather about the Penguins, you were talking about Mario Lemieux or Sidney Crosby or Mike Lange. And that's how important Mike Lange was to the Pittsburgh Penguins and to Pittsburgh Penguin fans.
He overshadowed himself because I guarantee you majority of people will talk about the phrases, the catchphrases.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And about
that's why I say
the ability to do the job.
And he loved the game. Boy, he loved the game of hockey. He really did. And I know it's shaken a few people that Mike is Mike. And so, but it was just, something that it's important that Mike Lange, who won the Foster Hewitt Award. He's an associate member of the Hall of Fame. He's got a plaque down at Young and Front in Toronto in the hall. But Mike Lange he was one of a kind. We will never see anybody like Mike Lange again. I think probably because people won't let that happen anymore, which is in one sense too bad. But in many ways, the greatest thing was there was only Mike Lange, and a lot of people got to hear him. Producers like you won't let it happen? Oh, I think you're probably right. Yeah. I think you're probably right at some point. But we were. I still remember I produced the Stanley Cup final in 1992, Chicago versus 1993, Chicago versus Pittsburgh. And the celebration was in the Pittsburgh dressing room at the Chicago Stadium. And a part of our post game was our host in the dressing room doing interviews was told by the producer in his ear, "Hey, that's Mike Lange behind you. Talk to him and ask him what he said on the air in Pittsburgh." And then he gave us one of his great "Elvis has left the building" as a sign that the Pittsburgh Penguins had won the Stanley Cup. So I loved Mike Lange. He was great. What was your favorite phrase? Oh, I think you have to go with Elvis has left the building. That was Yarm. I like the motorcycle. I like motorcycle. Yeah. But it speaks to what regional guys, what local guys have been for the sport. Joe Bowen in Toronto, Rick Jenneret, who just passed away, what he meant in Buffalo. Bob Miller in Los Angeles. I have a soft spot for St. Louis. Sam Rosen. Kelly. In his last Sam year. Rosen, who's retiring this year with the Rangers. Those people have really kept the flame of fandom alive for a lot of people as the NHL has tried to find a place on network television, particularly in the United States.